Thank you everybody for coming out and supporting this. We really appreciate it. As most of you know, my name is Cristy Hanlon. I'm an instructor in the math department, and we are kicking off what we call the Teaching Showcase with our first talk. I'm going to talk to you today about anxiety in the classroom. I am going to talk specifically about math anxiety, but I think it is probably going to apply to everybody. Everybody has some type, or not everybody, but almost everyone has some type of anxiety. And research has actually shown that almost everyone has some type of anxiety of some sort, and I'll talk to you about some of the research that I've done that shows that. So first of all, what is the Teaching Showcase? What are we doing here? Well, the Collegial Committee in the Arts and Sciences Division has put together this Teaching Showcase, and it is sharing information between faculty. We are sharing things that are working well in our classrooms, things that we have discovered through research, and also things that we have learned through professional development opportunities, through conferences, webinars, things that we have done to learn what we can do in our classrooms. What to expect from me today. I'm going to talk to you about things that I have learned in my personal research. I'm going to talk a little bit about what I learned at a math conference called AMATIC. And I'm going to talk to you about a project that I'm doing that was funded from the foundation. First of all, lessons from personal research. So who did I research? You might have heard of some of these folks. Dr. Carol Dweck was a pioneer in mindset theory. Mindset theory has two ideas behind it. One is fixed mindset, which is the idea that you are born with a certain ability to learn certain things. So the idea that I think about in math is that you're born with a math brain. That is fixed mindset. Growth mindset is the idea that you have the ability to learn some other type of thinking, that you can become a math person. So she pioneered that idea, and Dr. Joe Bowler, a professor in math education, actually applied this idea to mathematics. So in researching these people, I learned a lot about math anxiety. And I learned that it can show up in lots of different ways, and lots of ways that we can't see. So our students are experiencing these things, and we can't tell that they're experiencing them. Some of the physical ways that these manifest are in tension and in heart racing. They have a lot of negative talk. I'm sorry, I'll make sure that the microphone's in front of me. They have negative talk. They have a little voice in their head that's telling them, you're a failure, you can't do this, you're not worthy of success. They have lack of motivation. They avoid whatever subject it is. They won't write the story. They won't do the speech. They keep asking for extensions. They won't do the math homework. What can we do to lessen this anxiety? Well, there are a lot of different things that we can do as faculty to help lessen this anxiety. One of them is that we can help them develop a realistic schedule. A lot of students aren't familiar with the college environment and what it actually takes to be successful in a college environment. They don't realize how long it actually takes them to do things. They don't know that it takes longer to study college courses than it did to do high school courses, for example. They don't know how long it takes them to go get a coffee in the morning. They don't put that into their realistic idea of what their routine actually is. Getting help. We can help them find resources. This campus has some amazing resources, and we can point them in the right direction if we find that they need help. Positive self-talk. This is one of the big ones. Students, a lot of them, have this voice going on, and they need help changing that voice to a positive one. They need help changing it to say that they can do this, that they can succeed, that they do have a right to succeed. And brain breaks, we're going to get to those. Those can be fun. Fidget objects and tactile services. We're going to talk about those too. And mindfulness moments, being in the moment. Okay, brain breaks. I would like to introduce Angie Morgan. She's a math professor in our department. She's going to help me demonstrate some of these. Brain breaks are just a couple minutes that students need. Studies actually show that you need to take a brain break about every 20 minutes when you're studying. But I realistically do them about once during a class period. It's just not realistic to do it every 20 minutes. But they're just little moments, just a minute or two. And they are a moment to take away from what they're studying in order to get their brain to refresh. It gets oxygen running through them, it gets oxygen to the brain, and it helps them to refocus. So what are some of the brain breaks that I have done that I think that were successful? Well, the very simplest one that I do is a simple stretch, and Angie's going to help me demonstrate. So what we do is we put out our arms, and we roll our arms. And then we roll them the other way. And then we stretch up high, and about this time, all the gentlemen in the room are thinking this is very silly. So we get up on our tiptoes, and I challenge them to touch the ceiling, so they have something else to think about. And they try to touch the projectors in the room. And then I have them stretch down, and I have them concentrate on the field of stretch in the back of their legs. And then they get up, stretch their back, and I talk to them about cracking their backs. And then I hear lots of cracking all around the room. Stretch the other direction. And then this is the important part. I have them walk and interact with each other. So this part, I have people on one side walk to the other side, that side walk to the other side, and I have them either shake hands with somebody on the way, or high five, or wave, or I have them walk around a table somewhere in the middle. So we will walk by each other. Very simple, but gets blood pumping, gets oxygen to the brain. And then they go back to their seats. That's it. That took maybe 2.5 minutes or something. Very quick, gets blood pumping, gets oxygen to the brain. That's all it is. So that was a simple stretch. I do that one time during the class. Next one is kind of fun. It's a little bit silly. And some of my students probably think I'm a little for doing it, but it's fun. So this one is very fast. I tell everybody to find a partner. They get up, and the act of getting a partner makes their blood flow because they have to walk across the room. And I say, find a partner. They face a partner. I say, shake right hands. Then I say, shake left hands. Then I say, shake right feet. Then I say, shake left feet. By this time, everybody's giggling, so then I say, okay, you can go back to your desk. Okay, next one is line up. You probably do this one, some people probably do this one during orientation at the beginning of the school year, when you're first getting to know each other, icebreakers, that type of thing. And if you don't, I encourage you to do it for a brain break. This is where you would get students to line up in some space in your room, that you have some room. You can do it alphabetically by first name, that gets them to know each other. You can do it by birthday. You can do it by height. I usually participate in that one because I want them to feel better because I'm usually the shortest person in the room. You could also do it by year, birthday by year. I also participate in that because I'm usually the oldest person in the room. So that's line up. The wave, we do this when we get in a big, huge circle. And then we do the wave. And then go the other way. That one's very quick. And then fold and fly, that one is fun. I usually ask them to get a piece of paper. Thank you, Angie. Everybody give her a hand for volunteering to do that. Fold and fly, I usually ask them to get out a piece of paper. They think we're going to do a quiz. And I say, okay, you have 60 seconds to make the best paper airplane that you can. And they make a paper airplane. And I say, okay, here's your airstrip. We take just a minute for everybody to fly their paper airplane. And we just leave them where they are, go back to their desk. Once they're involved in something else, I pick them up and put the winner on display for the rest of the class. That was pretty quick. And there's some others on here. I had the little piece of paper with the brain breaks on them. If you want any more details about those, you're welcome to contact me. I'll give you some more information about those or others that I have tried in the past. Usually pretty quick. There are some that are more involved if you happen to have a day that you don't have a lot scheduled or something. But I try to aim for just a couple of minutes, just in the very middle of the period. Okay, tactile surfaces, Angie. Angie is going to hand out something. Oh, Angie, can I have one of those, please? I'm sorry. Thank you. Okay. These have several names. You could call them calming strips or tactile strips, tactile surfaces, breathing strips. It's going a little slower. I'm going to put one over here for you guys to look at. Katie, could you demonstrate for this side? She's bringing some over. Okay. Okay, so the idea of these is they have a bumpy surface to them, and they are stickers. So we have students stick them to something. You can stick them to the side of a cup. Everybody has those Stanley cups now, or you can put them on the calculator, you can put them on your phone, put them on a laptop, and they have multiple purposes. And I gave them out during College 101, during a math anxiety presentation. I also give them out at the beginning of the semester to my students. And the idea is this. When students are in the middle of a stressful situation, it can be a quiz, it can be right before they get up to speak in front of class, they take a minute, they run their finger over the surface. They start to run their finger over the surface. They breathe in. When they get about halfway through, they breathe out. Then they start again. Breathe in. Halfway through, breathe out. They're concentrating on how it feels, on the bumpy surface of it. Breathe in, concentrating on how it feels. Breathe out. They're doing this because they're stressed out. And what this does, it does a whole bunch of things. It calms their breathing, slows it down, slows down their heart, brings them into now. If their mind was racing, it's now concentrating on breathing, it's concentrating on the moment, it's concentrating on how that feels. They're no longer stressing about whatever they were stressing before. So this can be a powerful tool for your students, and they don't cost very much. That box that she was handing around was like $10, I think. And it holds 50, I think, something like that. I buy a couple of boxes every semester and hand them out. So Tactile surfaces, or calming strips, I think is how I searched for them on Amazon. I thought that was a really powerful tool. And I see them on everybody's stuff all semester. Okay, insights from the math conference. The biggest thing that I found from the math conference was that it is a hot topic. Everybody is stressed out. Everybody knows that the students are stressed out. And everybody has different ideas about what to do about them. There were projects from my previous cohort and projects from the cohort that I was part of, and there were 7 different presentations at the conference that were about math anxiety. Some of the different ideas were projects instead of exams, journaling about how real-life tasks relate to math, including growth mindset and positive outlooks, visible random grouping, just making them comfortable and like they're not left out, and getting students engaged so they're not alone in their confusion. Okay, my current classroom project. I am actually replacing half of my quizzes in a class with projects in the hopes of reducing math anxiety. And I'm doing surveys that they turn in whenever they're turning in the projects to tell me if they felt less anxiety doing the project than they would have doing a quiz. And they're turning in a survey whenever they turn in their quizzes too, to see how that compares. And then I did a pre-assessment at the beginning, and I'll be doing a post-assessment at the end to see how that goes. And this is one of the examples that I've gotten from a student. My first project was Venn diagrams, and I've been very impressed with some of the results. Of course, I get some students that just did some random circles and a couple of numbers, but I've also been very impressed with some of the results I've gotten. Some students have gone above and beyond, and I've been very happy with that. And they seem to enjoy themselves. I thought that was very impressive. This one color-coded, she gave me very detailed analysis. My assignment actually just included numbers, but she put a lot of detail into it. This one is not as neat, but look at all that detail. Look at the effort that student put into that. There's legends, there are symptoms, and all kinds of information there. So the surveys that you have in your hands, those are the surveys that I'm doing. One side is the pre-assessment. The other side is a short survey that I give to them for the projects and for quizzes. That's some of the questions that I asked. Here are some of the results that I've gotten so far. This was mind-blowing. 100% said that they have experienced some type of anxiety before, some type of math anxiety in my case. They said that tests and quizzes are triggers for anxiety. 70% thought in the pre-assessment that projects might help. I have found that grades on the projects are better than the grades on the quizzes. And in the pre-assessment, they thought the projects would be less intimidating, involve less time pressure, and help them understand the material better. And I have found when turning in the surveys with the projects that is the case also, that they thought it was less intimidating and that they understood the material better and that they appreciated having more time. They had a 2-week period average for the project so far. So takeaways from this. I would say almost everyone has some type of anxiety. It manifests in visible and imperceptible ways. Students need some type of brain break when they're in the middle of studying. And projects so far seem like one good option for math anxiety. And grades can be affected by change. So that's the end of my presentation. The next teaching showcase, mark your calendars, is April 8th. Same time, same bat place. Does anybody have any questions? That is it for me.
Ooh.
Yes. Dr. Young.
I just am curious about project. I like the Venn diagram, but what are some other projects that you do?
One of them is on absolute and relative change. They go with the subjects of the classes. The class I'm doing is Math 120, quantitative reasoning, or literacy, sorry, quantitative literacy. So one is absolute and relative change, or they have the option of doing a scaled version of the distance and diameters of Jupiter and Mars. That's the other choice that they have for the next chapter. I can't remember what the next project is, but they go directly with the subject matter that we're doing for those projects. Or for those.
Application.
Their application. Mm-hmm. Did you have one, Don?
Yeah. So I can't help but see a corollary between math anxiety and public speaking anxiety, which
True.
Mary Beth and I deal with. And I just wondered with you know, the conferences that you went to and stuff that you've read, like one of the best strategies for public speaking anxiety is practice. And I've seen with my children, which is the N of 5, the practice of math skills makes you more confident. And I just wondered if you saw that practice time with certain kinds of problems, like doing it over and over again, was ever a strategy in any of those resources, in any of those avenues.
Well, I can't speak to that exactly, because what people focused on the most was the fact that people tend to have test anxiety. That was what they really talked about. They didn't talk about
Math anxiety?
Well, they talked about math anxiety, but they talked about the fact that the math anxiety they have was when they see it on a test, they're immediately paralyzed, a lot of times. And it's the time problem whenever they have a test in front of them and it's timed. But I understand what you're saying. That's a very good point.
And then I just wondered, you know, if there's any like research-based like scales that actually measure mathing, because we have ones that in social sciences that do measure, that have been tested in literature, public speaking anxiety. Is there math anxiety? I'm sure there's test anxiety. I've just never looked into math anxiety.
That's great. And Dr. Jo Bowler, she has lots and lots of research on that, and I've just barely dipped into the research that she's done. So I don't know a lot about the details of that, but she would be a great resource for that.
Okay, thank you.
Yes?
Math 120,
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time you've taught it?
I've taught a couple of semesters.
Okay, so you've modified something you're used to. I was just curious, the end of Math 120, is there a comprehensive final exam type thing we would usually call?
Yes.
Are you keeping that, or are you making that project-based? That's out of curiosity.
I'm keeping the final.
Okay.
Yeah. Yes?
This question might be too early, but
Okay.
I was wondering, with early alerts, have you seen, with the incorporation of projects and placement of tests, have you seen your early alert entries decrease? As far as students participating in the process. And I know you said you just started incorporating, so it might be too early in the semester to really have, but I just wondered if they're feeling more comfortable in the class and staying in longer before.
I have seen, this is a very small, because my class is smaller this semester, I've seen a very small sample of more comfort from a couple of students that were worried at the beginning of the semester. When they started doing projects, they were encouraged. They liked the idea, and when they got the first result from the project, after they had done the project, they were encouraged, and then also when they saw the resulting grade from the project, they saw that that's what I wanted. They were encouraged. So I don't know about early alerts, because that class doesn't have as many as some of the other classes.
Yeah. Just math tends to submit a lot of early alerts.
Yeah.
I
I get a lot of online ones mostly.
And then you have a student that has 4 bad fifth grades compared to now they may have 2 good projects and 2 bad fifth grades. I feel more like there's additional the likelihood that they can succeed. I just wondered if you were
I am seeing, it's kind of mixed because they're not doing so great on the quizzes. But I think they would have scored the same on the quizzes regardless. But they are encouraged by the projects. I think they see that as a positive where they might not have had that there. So I'm seeing that as a positive. Does that answer your question? Yes.
Do you see a correlation between how they did on the projects and if you would ask similar questions in a quiz or in an exam, that they actually do better or do at least as well on their final about the topic that they covered in the project?
I think so. I don't have enough data yet, but they have reported that they learn the material better. And I'm actually seeing in the projects that they do understand the material because they're being thorough in the projects. And that is the material that we're doing on the tests. So I haven't gotten to test yet. Well, we just finished our first test and they did okay on it. But, so I don't have tons of data yet, but I think that we are on that track. Does that sort of answer your question? Okay. Anybody else?
Just a
Yes.
comment, I know one of the brain breaks you do is the positive little thoughts, and you like give them a sticky note. And can you talk about some of the responses you got on those notes and or the notes they put on the board for you?
Oh, yeah, one of the brain breaks that I do, it's not sticky notes, I actually let them write on the board, and I say write a kind note, and we do this towards the end of class usually, and well, not towards the end of the class, I do it during the break, so I do it for the students that are gonna be staying for the lab, and I let them go up and write a note on the board, and then I go during the break and I take pictures of them, and then I make that into a PowerPoint and share it with the students later, and then I erase them for the lab. And I get lots and lots of positive feedback for that. It may seem very cheesy, but it's very positive, I think, for the students. Is that what you're talking about? Anybody else? Well, I really appreciate all the support. Thank you guys so much for coming. It was wonderful. Thank you.